when you talk about the second round of it, let's say I'm sure that they're going to present you with these kind of questions in the interview as well, in the studio test and all of that. But the portfolio and interview, the very last session, or it could be before also, depending on the schedule that they come up with. In my case, it was very, very surprising for me because I just walked into the NID Gandhinagar campus and I put my uh, what I was saying carton, and I had all the models and everything that I made. And I put it there and I checked my schedule. Shit, आधे घंटे में interview है मेरा. I was like, what? It was crazy surprising for me. But yeah, irrespective of that, so interview is something that happens where a lot of the people actually, the very best thing to do is being honest, right? About everything.
Yeah.
So there have been a lot of designers who've talked about it. I've talked to many people also regarding this factor. I would want to know what your take on the interview of and the portfolio for SDM is.
Okay. Yeah, so SDM doesn't really require you to have a portfolio. That's one important thing, because how will you evaluate based on a portfolio? What will you make as a portfolio for SDM? It doesn't work, right? Obviously, SDM is a discipline that revolves around strategy and behavior and social psychology and everything. You are not a student who has done that before. So they are not expecting you to have a portfolio for SDM. They don't even, even if you show them, they might not even, go through it. Or they might go through it, but the questions are unrelated to your portfolio. They might even ask questions based on portfolio if you're like, please look into portfolio if you're just pushing it in. But it's not required at all. So that's one common question that you get from SDM.
Right.
And the other one is based on interview. You have the panel members. It changes every time. And yeah, as you said, they look for honesty and how open are you? And that's what I gave, while giving the example or the answer to the question. If I tell him, whatever you learned in economics is wrong, it's not going to work. So they will start arguing with you. So there is a very big unlearning curve happening once you get into NID, especially SDM, a very big unlearning curve.
Right.
Because you will understand that whatever you have learned doesn't work in real life, and design requires you to do that. Don't be rigid in terms of your beliefs and everything. Be flexible enough to accept a new thought or information, and be yourself. So I'll give you my example or my experience of the interview. Super weird is one of those weirdest interviews I had. It's super weird. That's one reason why I love SDM. So I have a couple of friends who were with me during waiting for the interview, and they all got through SDM. They were with me. That's a beautiful story later.
Wow.
So I got in. And the first thing, I obviously had a portfolio because I applied for transportation design. So kuch to hoga mere paas.
Right.
And I only made one portfolio for the entire journey of seed and NID together. So it has product design, it has transportation design, and it has one startup I worked on back then. So thoda bahut. So I got into the interview panel and they asked me to please sit down, and I sat down. And first thing the guy asked is what is condom? So it's like. So then I replied back saying, is it condominiums? So I remember I watched Rocky Balboa movie back then. So I had there's a particular scene there, if you remember. So it's like, do you want to invest in condominiums? So Rocky was like, no, I do it raw. Something like that. So this guy asking me condoms. So because I'm expecting something like condominiums or business related questions.
Right.
Said I was taken away. No, he said, mine is condom. So what is it?
Yeah.
So being in mechanical engineering, I had no walls with respect to these things. So I was like, okay, so condom is a sheet that is used in sexual intercourse and everything. So I was very open about it. So then his question was if you have to design a new variety of, advertise the concept of a condom to a market, what will you do about it? Then I was blank. Then I was like, dude, that's a question that I never expected. I was like, dude, okay. So then I went to aesthetics. There are patterns. All the condoms are very blank. It's kind of very monotonous. Have some texture or some associations to it. It's like color, scent, or fragrance, or something like that. Then it's like, okay. It's okay. So you're saying aesthetic will solve the problem of marketing. One way. So I just gave that. Then he went to the next question, which is even more weird. Very, very weird. So it's like, you see a crow and you want to make it sing like a nightingale. What will you do?
Wow.
Sir, crow.
Okay.
Nightingale? Yes, nightingale. So you want to see a crow, no, sir? Yes. You want to hear it like a nightingale, right? Huh. Okay. The point is that your auditory response should be nightingale's voice every time the crow is opening the mouth. Right. So it's like, yeah, so basically whenever the crow is opening the mouth, make sure that this person hear only the nightingale's voice. So it can be done with many methods. I'm not going to solutions. Right. Okay, so I gave that answer like, okay. Then he gave another question. Very open-ended, very, very weird. ATM, SDM.
Wow.
ATM, SDM. It's like, what should I do? What should I tell him? Tell something about it. ATM and SDM. So ATM, you insert a card, you get the money back. For SDM, right? You put something, you get some money back. Right? You invest something, you get some money back. Say it. And literally, this was the interview, the entire interview that happened. So, and the other one plus point was that I gave the SDM interview after transportation design interview.
Oh, okay.
My transportation design interview was epic. It was bad. It was really bad. Everybody in transportation design who went with me knows my interview. That bad.
Oh shit. Okay.
And it so happened that the transportation faculty who interviewed me was also part of the SDM faculty interview.
Wow. Okay.
I was like, and one question was that he looked at my profile and he has information. You applied for transportation also. So what would you do if you get to transportation? Will you not choose SDM? Then I smiled and looked at the faculty who took my interview and said, "Sir, आपको भी पता है नहीं मिल रहा है." So he said, "हाँ ठीक है, सही है." So he also confirmed it's not going to happen. So
right.
It's fine. Yeah, that was like really interesting interview, and I came out of the interview and like, dude, what happened?